Okay, imagine this. The clock just hit 9 p.m. You've had a completely relentless shift. You're covering maybe 6 wards, and you are just spent. You've got 3 really sick patients, one of whom just had an urgent CT, and those results are due back in, say, 45 minutes.
And the night team is walking in.
Exactly. The night team is here, there are fewer of them, and they already look exhausted.
Yeah.
You have maybe 5 minutes max to transfer every single detail, every pending job, every life or death decision. So how do you make sure that when you walk out that door, nothing falls through the cracks?
It's a huge challenge.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We're diving into the science of, well, safe clinical handover. And this isn't just about telling someone what happens.
Not at all.
It's the structured, standardized process that really determines if essential care continues or if it breaks down. We're pulling together some powerful guidance today from, the very top GMC standards, RCP toolkits, and even global safety frameworks in the WHO.
And what's fascinating here, I think, is that the stakes are just astonishingly high. Our sources all point to the same thing. Poor handover, especially out of hours, is a primary driver of things going wrong for patients.
So it's not just about being tidy then?
No, it's a major patient safety risk that regulators are actively watching. So our mission today is pretty clear, really. It's to get past this idea of just telling the story.
Right.
And to really understand the core principle. Handover is the verifiable professional transfer of responsibility and, crucially, of accountability.
And if it's not structured and timed and documented,
then that responsibility is just dangerously ambiguous, and that puts you at risk, professionally and legally.
Okay, so if the goal is this verifiable transfer, we need a common language.
We do.
Which brings us to the gold standard, right? SPIR, situation, background assessment, recommendation.
Sometimes ISBAR to add that crucial identification piece at the start.
Yes. But let's just pause on that word transfer. What are we actually handing over? The sources define handover as the transfer of professional responsibility and accountability.
It's not just a summary. It's a fundamental safety action. It dictates who is liable for that patient the second the conversation ends.
Wow.
And this is so critical. It really drives the one central takeaway for this whole deep dive.
Wait.
You have to transfer responsibility using SPIR or ISBAR, but you do it by coupling the task with a named owner, a specific deadline, and a written record of that transfer.
That's the link. Structure and accountability.
That's it.
That makes a lot of sense. So SPR gives us the structure, but how do we make sure the content is, forward-looking, not just history?
Right, because that's the key difference between a good handover and a safe one. Of course, you need the basics: identifiers, diagnosis, status. But the GMC and RCP guides, they focus so intensely on the future. You have to identify tasks with owners and deadlines. And beyond that, you can't leave out the big picture stuff, the boundaries of care.
Like a DNA CPR status.
Exactly. Ceilings of care, like do not attempt CPR, must be stated clearly. And you also have to detail very precise escalation plans.
So not just call for help if they get sick.
No, never. It's if the heart rate hits 130, you call this person and the immediate action is this. You're handing over a plan B, C, and D.
I often hear, though, that hospitals are they're chaotic. People are forced to do handovers on the run. But the sources are really strict about the environment, aren't they?
They're unequivocal. Safe handover requires protected time. In a quiet space with minimal interruptions, it's all about cognitive load. In a noisy, busy place, your working memory is shot.
You forget things.
You forget the one critical thing, that pending result, that escalation trigger. The whole receiving team has to be there, and they have to be focused to actually accept that responsibility.
This is where it gets really interesting for me, because structure, even something as good as SPRR, can still have gaps. A task can just become this vague to-do that's just floating in the air.
The dreaded ownerless task.
Exactly. So how do we build the accountability in?
That's where the dual channel rule comes in. It's simple, but it's non-negotiable. Handover must always use 2 channels. Two. A concise verbal summary, plus a reliable, secure written or electronic list.
So verbal alone is a no-go.
It's utterly insufficient. The human brain, especially at the end of a long shift, makes errors. It forgets. The written list is your audit trail. It's your medico-legal record of the transfer.
Okay, so the written list is the anchor. How does the conversation then, cement the accountability.
It's all about the actions you take. There's a 4-step best practice approach for this. Step 1 is prepare. This is before the other team even arrives. You update your list, you prioritize your sickest patients, and you gather all the latest data. No scrambling for results mid-conversation.
Okay, that's prepare. Step 2.
Step 2 is deliver. This is your SDAR. You highlight the red flags and, most importantly, you clearly state the time-critical task with named owners.
So you literally say a name and a time.
Yes. And then step 3, which is the crucial safety net, verify.
What's that mean?
It means you use a readback. For every critical item, every high-risk task, you get the receiver to repeat it back to you. It forces them to listen and to actively accept it.
I see. And the last step?
Step 4 is document. You save or lock that electronic list, and you record the major plans in the patient's actual notes. Documentation protects everyone.
And the specificity here is what stops things from going wrong.
Absolutely. You avoid saying things like, someone should check their gases later. The sources push for these model phrases.
Give me an example.
Instead, you say, task, repeat gases at 1800. Owner, the night SHO. If the pH is less than 7.3, call the critical care outreach team immediately.
That is fantastic. It gives them the task, the time, and the exact trigger for escalation. And with that verification step, the accountability is sealed. You could say, okay, can you read back the plan for Mrs. Khan?
And the receiver confirms.
Read back. Mrs. Khan's CT result is due at 9 p.m. I will call radiology at 5 past and start anticoagulation if it's positive. It's a done deal.
And to manage all of this, especially when you're tired and under pressure, clinicians rely on mnemonics, just simple memory hooks.
Makes sense.
The first one from the RCP toolkit is just the word handover.
Oh.
H for headline, which is your SPIR situation. A for assessment, N for next steps, D for DNA CPR or ceilings of care.
O must be owners.
O for owners, V for verify, E for escalation plan, and R for record. It's the whole flow of the conversation.
I really like the second one, though, that the sources mentioned, the ONIT model. It feels so active.
It's great because it focuses right in on the biggest risk, which is accountability.
So OWNIT. O is outline your SPR,
Right.
W is
Who owns it?
N is notes written, I is intervals or time frames, and T is
Trigger to escalate. It perfectly summarizes everything you need for that task to be safe. It removes all the ambiguity.
right.
And if you connect this to the bigger picture, most handover failures, they happen when people just bypass these steps.
They use shortcuts.
They use shortcuts. They go for informal, convenient communication. And that's where you find all the trap answers in professional exams.
Okay, so let's talk about the traps. What's the most common one?
The classic, pop the pending task in the group chat. It loses marks instantly.
But everyone does it. Why is it so bad?
Because it's informal. It's not auditable in a proper hospital system. And most critically, there is no confirmed acceptance of responsibility. Seeing a message isn't the same as accepting a new patient.
That is such a critical point. Okay, what's another trap?
The vague action. Writing something like for review in the patient notes.
I see that all the
It's
time.
a delegation of ambiguity, not responsibility. Who reviews, when, to do what? The task is guaranteed to get lost until it's an emergency.
You have to be specific. Review fluid balance at 11 p.m. owned by the night FY1.
Precisely. And the other big one is using personal devices. Taking a photo of a handwritten list on WhatsApp. It feels quick, but it's a huge breach of confidentiality, and it's not auditable. You have to use the approved system every time.
And this all leads to being aware of red flags, things that should make you stop the handover and say, hold on.
What should we be looking for?
A critical result that's ownerless. A lab report that says urgent review advised, but no one is named to do it. That task is still yours until someone accepts it.
Okay.
Or an unstable patient, maybe their early warning score is rising, but there's no clear timed review plan for the next shift.
And time-critical meds, I assume?
Yes. Any pending stat antibiotics or anticoagulants, they must have an owner and a deadline. If any of that is missing, the handover is fundamentally unsafe.
This brings up a really difficult and, I guess, a political question. What if you do everything right? You use SBR, you name the owner, you set a time, and the person you're handing over to just says, no.
Yeah, I'm too busy.
I can't accept that. What do you do?
The guidance is absolutely clear, and this is what protects you. If a task isn't accepted, you must immediately escalate.
Up the chain of command. To the registrar, to the consultant, to the site management team. And crucially, you document it. You document every attempt you made, the time of the refusal, and what you did to keep the patient safe in the meantime. Your documentation is your ultimate defense.
So when we pull this all together,
Mm.
What does it mean for you, our listener? I mean, it seems that safe handover isn't just about passing on information.
No, it's about the formal, verifiable transfer of professional liability.
You are literally signing off that someone else is now competent and accountable for that patient.
And all these rules, they're not just bureaucracy. They connect directly back to your core professional duties from the GMC.
Right.
They exist to make sure you maintain continuity of care, that you delegate with clear instructions, and that you keep accurate, contemporaneous records. Every minute you spend on a structured handover is a minute spent protecting your registration.
So let's boil it down. What are the 3 final critical takeaways?
Okay. First, always use structured SPR or ISBAR with a concrete, forward-looking ask. A named donor has to actively accept each task, with specific times and escalation triggers all defined.
And third?
Make sure there's a reliable, contemporaneous written record for every single action and every acceptance.
Okay. So we've established that handover is only really complete when a competent receiver formally accepts that professional responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go back to that deadline we talked about, that 6 p.m. blood gas or that 30-minute review of the CT result. What happens if that time just comes and goes?
And the task hasn't been done.
The task hasn't been done, 6 p.m. passes, no gas. What then?
Whoa.
The final crucial rule of safe care is that it demands prompt re-escalation if those timelines slip. The handover doesn't just end when you walk out the door. The system's responsibility and your initial responsibility demand that those critical tasks are monitored, which makes you, and that structured process you started, the ultimate safety net until the task is well and truly complete.